So blockchain is going to be an extraordinary technology that I think everybody should know about. In fact, our CEO, Ginny Rometty, says that blockchain will do for transactions what the internet did for communications. So think about what a big, bold statement that is, because of obviously the impact on communications that the internet has had. So IBM is the biggest non-bank involved in building the fabric of a blockchain for different industries. And what I'm looking at right now is trying to help the programmatic space by building a blockchain for that, because a lot of the issues in programmatic, whether it be financial transparency or the tracking of impressions or bots, viewability, all this stuff are the kind of things that, done right, blockchain can help solve. Yeah, so blockchain is basically a ledger that incorporates all aspects of a transaction in one block as opposed to individual in pieces. So things like, you know, a check taking 3 to 5 days to clear, where a bank has to talk to another bank, has to talk to a routing system. It doesn't happen. Everybody sees the same information at the same time. It clears instantaneously. So we're doing it for a number of different industries, and blockchain will be ultimately, I think, the kind of the way that all businesses are transacted. But I like to give this example of like social, you know, when we talk about communications and the impact on that. So in the old days, if you went on vacation, let's say you were here at Cannes, you might write postcards to your friends, right? You'd write 4 different postcards. You'd mail them out, but they would all be a little bit different, and not everybody would get the same thing, and you wouldn't be able to scale it. You could only send X amount of postcards. 10 years ago, you might have switched that to email. You might have just emailed a picture, and you could reach maybe 100 people, and it would still be a copy of what you're sending because they could alter it or whatever. Today, what would happen is you would post it on social media, right? So it's one thing, everybody could see it, and if it's altered, everyone will see the alteration. It'll happen one time, and it changes everywhere. That's essentially what happens with blockchain. If any change happens to a transaction, it changes everywhere. So that discrepancies kind of go away, and all the kind of things that happen because of copies and because people are operating transactions individually on their own will no longer be the case with blockchain. And so as it relates to media, you know, I'm sure you heard Mark Pritchard a few months ago of P&G talk about programmatic advertising, and how with the financial transparency issues, if the industry doesn't fix this, he's going to pull some spending from digital and put it elsewhere. And then multiple other companies have said it since then as well, because nobody can really track with programmatic. It used to be client, agency, publisher. Those 3 steps. Client, agency typically got 15% in the salad days, and even more recently they got some commission, but everyone knew exactly what that was. Now it's agency. Now it's client, agency, 6 ad tech players, publisher, and with all those ad tech players, the publisher only gets 35 cents on the dollar versus 85 cents on the dollar. So the publisher is not getting paid as much. The marketer's money is not working as hard to reach consumers, and nobody knows exactly who's getting what. And so with blockchain for media, you'll be able to have total transparency to who's getting what, exactly what each company is doing, how much they're getting paid, and why they're getting paid that. And because it's a clear supply chain, there will also be ad tech players in that mix that will no longer be necessary, because if everybody has the same information, you won't need every single one.
What's the roadmap? How can we expect this to roll out?
So I'm exploring a pilot as we speak right now with a big client and a big agency and the various partners and players. We're going to start that pilot probably in the next month or so. And then we'll see what kind of learnings we get. And then what we'd like to do is open it up to the industry at large and see if the ecosystem can start thinking about using blockchain as a solution for the multiple problems that are happening in programmatic. I think it'll change so much of the business, because people will be much more comfortable spending in digital, and not only digital, but television too, which will ultimately be digital as well. And it'll be great for the industry, and it'll be great for marketers, because they will finally be able to do some of the things that the internet was meant to do in terms of targeting and tracking and speed, efficiency, volume, all that. We're doing some unbelievable things in the world of cognitive for brands. I mean, that's one of the things that IX really differentiates us, is that our approach isn't about creating just ads or content, whatever. It's about creating experiences. Those might be ads, they might be content, they might be on some other business solution, but it's got that management consulting philosophy to it. And many of the solutions that we create for brands, whether it's creative, whether it's in the assets we create or whatever, is powered by AI. So I can give you a number of examples, but I like so for example, with General Motors, we're creating kind of the approach to building a cognitive car, so that the navigation system is much more intuitive about you and your driving and where you go and the weather and you're low on gas and all that stuff. For sports, we're doing this great thing with the Toronto Raptors, where we're creating this kind of ability for them during the draft, where it's like a mission control type system where, in the old days you would draft the most talented player, right? So, but wasn't that big of a risk because the signing bonuses weren't millions of dollars, a couple of $100,000. Now, the top player is going to cost you a fortune, and a lot of times they don't succeed not because they're not talented and they don't have great 5-tool skills, but it's more about their character issues or their social, or what they're doing on social media, or they had some arrest when they were young and all stuff. So now all the data will appear on the board, like it's a minority report type board like this, so that you'll say, okay, I'm going to draft him first. Oh my God, and all these circles come up and say, oh my God, he did this when he was 16, he did that when he was 18. He's not going to be able to handle the big city because he writes these dumb things on social, whatever. Let's move him down to 6. All that's powered by AI. So I mean, there's so many different things that we're doing for brands that I think are very exciting using Watson.